Well, Hakeem Jeffries was caught off guard.
Nancy Pelosi said that then President Obama didn't need congressional approval to bomb Libya. Now House Democrats say President Trump needs that approval to bomb Iran. What's the difference?
I don't even understand the genesis or basis of that question.
Ever since the operation in Iran began, the Democratic leadership has struggled to stay consistent, openly contradicting their past statements, even those made just a few weeks ago. And today, we're telling you all about it. So without further ado, let's jump right into it.
Thank you, Leader Jeffries. Back in 2011, Nancy Pelosi said that then President Obama didn't need congressional approval to bomb Libya. Now House Democrats say President Trump needs that approval to bomb Iran. What's the difference?
Well, obviously, Libya and the circumstances connected to that were very different than the circumstance that we face in Iran right now. I mean, I don't even understand the genesis or basis of that question. Not suggesting that you're not asking it in good faith.
Libya went on for 7 months.
As I've indicated, first of all, I was not in Congress at the time. So we're dealing with what we're dealing with right now, which is a catastrophic, endless war, as Donald Trump has characterized it, without any justification that there was going to be a preeminent assault or attack on the United States of America. And certainly there's been nothing that has been presented to us privately to justify a preemptive strike of this nature that has triggered an all-out war in the Middle East.
We'll get to the Democrats supposedly not knowing about the details of the operation, but before that, it's worth looking back at how they responded when President Obama was striking Libya. For starters, the DOJ's Office of Legal Counsel put out a document arguing the president had the constitutional authority to direct the use of military force because he could reasonably determine that it was in the national interest. They went on to add, prior congressional approval was not constitutionally required to use military force in the limited operations under consideration. On top of that, key Democratic lawmakers supported it, like House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, who said the limited nature of this engagement allows the president to go forward, and assured she's satisfied that the president has the authority he needs to. The story was more of the same in the Senate, where Dick Durbin asserted it may have taken a few extra days, but I think most would agree that it was a very prudent course of action for the president of our nation. Now that the shoe is on the other foot, their reaction looks very different. But when it comes to classified briefings, the Trump administration was sure to keep the Democrats in the loop. Here's a CBS report on the 25th of February proving it.
Interestingly, today, Secretary of State Marco Rubio had a briefing with the Gang of Eight on Capitol Hill. Tell my audience what the Gang of Eight is, quick reminder, and why you think this is important.
The Gang of Eight are the top leadership from the intel committees and top leadership in Congress. And if the Secretary of State is briefing the Gang of Eight ostensibly on Iran, to me that implies that there's some significant covert element to any operation that the president may be planning, or some new breathtaking intelligence that is so sensitive that only the senior leaders and intelligence leaders in Congress can have access to it. So, of course, we have this massive military buildup right now that is giving the president maximum optionality when it comes to overt military options against Iran. But there's clearly a lot going on that we're just not seeing, and that's a covert action track. I will tell you, it is standard operating procedure for a president to pursue all lines of effort when countering an adversary: diplomatic, military, covert action. So this is in line with past precedent.
Exactly. To put things into perspective, the Gang of Eight is actually split evenly between both parties. It includes Jim Himes, Mark Warner, Jeffries, and Schumer on the Democratic side. So the idea that they were completely in the dark really doesn't hold up. In fact, Chuck came out of this specific briefing saying the administration has to make its case to the American people on something as important as this. Even Jeffries mentioned how risky the situation was before going into the meeting room, where the briefing was led by Marco Rubio and CIA Director John Ratcliffe. Take a look.
And quickly, Gang of Eight briefing at 3 p.m. on Iran. What are your thoughts, again, on where this could be possibly leading with potential U.S. military action in Iran?
Congress needs to act and authorize military force before any military action is taken by Donald Trump and his administration. We'll make that point very clearly in the Gang of Eight briefing that's going to take place in about 30 minutes. I'm interested, and I'll listen to what members of his administration are going to say at this secure briefing. but I also plan to press them on the claim that Donald Trump himself made about the Iranian nuclear program and what the great urgency is right now that you've assembled an armada, potentially dragging America into another failed foreign forever war.
That's Hakeem Jeffries exposing his future self. It's absurd how hard he's trying to act as if the Democrats were left in the dark. Listen, you can support or oppose the current operation all day long, but consistency is what matters to me. By this point, every member of Congress, or any public figure for that matter, should understand that the internet is forever, and all it takes is a quick Google search to prove that they're contradicting themselves just to push a narrative. And there's been plenty of that happening on the Democratic side, especially since the leadership is stuck between appeasing the moderates, who recognize the real risks posed by Iran, and progressives who are mainly driven more by ideology. Now, when it comes to the War Powers Act, Marco Rubio addressed it directly during a press conference a couple of days after the operation began, and he made some valid points.
Your critics in Congress have said that they should have a role, they should be able to weigh in here, and there are going to be war powers resolutions votes in Congress later this week. Why not notify Congress ahead of this, and does Congress...
Well, we did. We notified Congress. I mean, we notified the Gang of Eight. We notified congressional leadership. There's no law that requires us to do that. The law says we have to notify them 48 hours after beginning hostilities. We've done that. I think the notification went today. But we did notify members of Congress in advance. But we can't notify 535 members of Congress. Well, the Congress can vote on whatever they want, but there's no law that requires us to do that. And I want to say something, because I see people on TV. Look, that's fine. If they want to take a war powers vote, they can do that. They've done that. They've done that a bunch of times. But people keep saying that there's no law that requires the president to have done anything with regards to this. To begin with, no presidential administration has ever accepted the War Powers Act as constitutional. Not Republican presidents, not Democratic presidents. That said, we have followed the notification at 48 hours. We're here today. I've done more Gang of Eight briefings than I got in the 4 years that Biden was president and I was a member of the Gang of Eight. All of that said, we've complied with the law 100%.
The War Powers Act has always been a point of debate, and positions tend to shift depending on who holds office. That's why we see constant flip-flopping in D.C. For instance, back in 2011, many Republicans pushed back and tried to limit Obama's ability to carry out strikes in Libya. But today, they're supporting the operation against Iran. So here's to hoping that this ends quickly without us getting dragged into another forever war. Because no one wants to see another Iraq or Afghanistan, especially since many of us lived through the consequences of those interventions. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on the story. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, you heard it here at the Dais.